we have to get real here. We're competing against a lot of people in the world who want to make games and they're willing to work hard and they're not union labor, and the capital is not going to invest in the union studios. Sorry.
Welcome back for Gamified number 160. Introducing your panel for this week. Up first, he looked at the creator economy and decided to build the infrastructure for Clippers and creators to finally catch a break. Founder of LiveFrame, it is Real Jonah Blake.
I'm here to talk about things. Hello.
Wow. Impressive. Up next, multi-time founder, co-creator of the #1 NFT trading card game of all time, working on Parallel Colony and Parallel Sanctuary. It is the Prince of Parallel. It's Koji Nagata.
Hey, thanks for having me. I was here to just talk shit about Mortal Kombat, so hopefully the rest of this goes okay.
You haven't even seen it, Koji, but I would appreciate you backing me up on that one. From rankling teenagers coveting Fortnite fame at Sony Esports to Marketplace Magic Eden, now he's the DGen designer of the Digital Collectors Club. It is Knock.
Keeping up with our updates on where we're placing in RuneScape, we have cracked number 94 on the leaderboard. Although now I actually just can no longer play. That's all.
And he's the business-brained bullshit detector with a gift for cutting through the hype. Formerly at Disney and Universal, it is Chris Heatherly.
I look forward to our combat on Mortal Kombat, Samuel.
I cannot wait. And he's the beefcake that makes panelists quake. It's the Golden God on the podcast mic. It's Jerry Singer.
Hey, it's nice an episode without Tony, who by my notes went over last episode I was on with him by 407 seconds. So I'm glad the rest of us get a chance to speak. Also, Knock, I've heard you quit RuneScape weekly for 3.5 years now, probably, and you still haven't.
You just take breaks. You don't quit. You never quit.
Certified hater on both those points. And he's the former first-person shooter streamer. Now he's the beast behind Battle Trade, making DGen dreams and nightmares come true at 100x leverage. It's Dub.
Oh, dude, stoked to be here. Excited for the chat. Mortal Kombat sucks.
Up first, topic number one. Are you buying or selling Sony's gaming strategy now that we have a little bit more context? Sony's big bet on live service is the next growth engine. It's looking ugly. Bungie acquired for $3.6 billion in 2022. Sony just recorded a $560 million impairment charge in Q4 of 2025. The full year loss on the deal was already $765 million total. More losses flagged for fiscal year 2026, I'm sure, with Marathon, their extraction shooter, launched on March 5th, and is hovering around 10,000 concurrents on Steam. Destiny 2 is also around 10,000 concurrents, its lowest point ever on the platform from, again, this studio that cost $3.6 billion. That said, big asterisk, that doesn't capture PlayStation Network players, which presumably should have more on both of those. So we'll put an asterisk there. Obviously, Concord launching in 2024 and the disaster that we know that to be, $200 to $400 million loss, depends who you ask. They recently shut down Blue Point Games, the remake studio that was really beloved in favor of some of these live service games after trying to make Blue Point Games become a live service studio, despite the fact that they've made like 10 separate legendary remakes. The pattern, Sony's live service strategy, 0 for 3 at least, only with the big hitters here. Concord dead in a couple of weeks, Firewalk shut down, etc. And the broader market is trending indie, smaller budgets, higher margins, less risk. Mouse PI for hire finally taken off this week, and we a bunch of indie hits pop up. So again, are you buying or selling Sony's gaming strategy to this point? Is it time for them to pivot, or are you thinking you got to stick to the plan and this is a long-term thing? Let's go around the horn, Knock, buy or sell, and then we'll go to Jerry.
We're selling.
Yeah, we're selling. Fire sale.
We're too far in, dude. I'm holding.
Sell!
I'm going to take the opposite stance here and say bye.
I would probably sell Bungie.
All right, Chris, kick us off. Why are you buying, or why are you selling? Sorry.
I'm just down on console gaming in general. I just think that I keep saying it, but I just think it's a expensive hobby for affluent Westerners. Most of the growth in gaming is happening in Asia and markets like Africa and the Middle East and places like that. And those aren't console markets, and people are going to play on their phones primarily. And if they're not playing on those, they're going to play on PC. I think that Steam has become a far better place to distribute games and to find more variety. I think that, the tariffs and AI driven shortages mean that hardware is just going to get more expensive. So even if they come out with a new console, and even if it's interesting enough to make you want to upgrade, the console is probably going to cost over $1,000, which means the adoption will be slow, and a small number of people will get it. And these Sony titles are just not crushing it, right? I'm not excited about the next Naughty Dog game. I think, probably that one is going to be first of all, it just doesn't look great. And second of all, like I think the Culture Warriors are going to eat it up. I think, I'm excited about Wolverine. I think that will fucking crush and be huge. Marathon is not getting it done. And, it looks like they're going to have to write off more on that acquisition. So I don't know. I'm kind of looking for the bright light here for Sony.
Koji, I'm going to you next. Why are we getting a buy here whenever it seems like most people are on the other side?
Mainly because everyone on this panel is selling, and I know them to be dead wrong. So I'm going to have to go buy. Like, I'm going to tell you what I tell my wife whenever we talk about kids shows, and she's like, I don't like that show. It's not for you. You are old, right? Like, and no offense to anybody here, but like, Chris, you just complained that consoles were for affluent white people, and like fucking then you're like, and people are going to PC gaming. Like, it doesn't get more affluent than that. I think that like what's happening here is like we're aging out of this. We don't like the Steam Cube. We don't like Xbox. Like, we don't like console gaming pretty much at all, it seems, anyone on this panel. And I think like the problem isn't the gaming landscape at large. It's us. And someone has to win in this. And I think that like between Xbox and PlayStation, I think it's going to be PlayStation. And so that's why I'm buying, to be honest with you. And like, yeah, you can make the argument that Nintendo's doing okay and whatever. It's just like, just because like we're all grown up children and everyone just wants to like relive their youth or whatever and play some bullshit. But like for adult gamers, I think that PlayStation is the move. And so, yeah, I'm buying when everybody else is selling because, I think that like, you got to spend money in a scared market, and you guys are fucking cowards.
Koji, do you believe that they're on the right path though, or would you say, okay, let's pivot out of live service, let's go to, let's ship 100 indie titles between now and 2027 on PlayStation or something along those lines? It's a little bit more like quote unquote with the times, because it's not like Marathon's fucking killing it with 12-year-olds or something.
They'll be fine. I think that AAA games will make a comeback. GTA 6 will come out. People will buy PlayStations, and then they'll play all these games and be like, actually, all this stuff was actually pretty good. And I also just think that like this stuff moves in cycles, right? Right now we're in a cycle where gaming feels unexciting, and people are moving to the more innovative indie stuff. But eventually, they're gonna want the high polished nonsense and come back. Not me. But I think that like people at large that's what they're after. I mean, we talk about Call of Duty every fucking other week on this show. Like that's some fucking amazing franchise. Where are you going to play? You're going to play it on your fucking PlayStation.
Doc, I'm going to you next. Oh, still down.
Hello?
Bad.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah,
There you go.
Okay, we solved it. Listen, keeping up with the times is what got Sony into this mess, right? They bought Bungie a few years ago because their goal was to create a live service brain from a team that had done really well on a live service product and hopefully help guide them into the next 4 or 5 years of live service titles. The problem is when you take a year or two to acclimate, when you take 2 or 3 more years to build your strategy, you've now 5 years down the road and you've missed the market. The market today is about indie games and smaller titles. All of these titles are blowing up. We've talked about hundreds of them over the course of the last couple of weeks on this show. If they change focus now and go, hey, let's start with indie games, by the time they ship indie games, it'll be back to what Koji just said. It's a cyclical nature. Sony is 2 steps behind. So what I'm selling is their inability to think forward, and I'm buying keeping everything that they currently already have with Bungie and the rest of that system and say, just fucking hold on for the next 3 or 4 years. And by the time you finally are ready to ship something, the market will have come back around. I think the problem that they've gotten themselves into here is that they over-indexed on live service games right at a local top for live service games. Basically, everything has been downhill since they made that acquisition. They shut down Bluepoint because they had Bluepoint on live service games instead of doing what they were great at, which is single player experiences. They were focused only on bringing Bungie in for their expertise and shipping a title. And by the time they were able to do anything, they realized, hey, the market has turned. I think Sony's problem right now is that they are being reactive to market forces. They're not being proactive. And in order for them to do well over the course of the next decade, they need to start thinking ahead for what will become popular within gamers instead of just trying to react to what's going on in the market. That's what led to this Bungie acquisition.
Jonah, I know you said you would sell Bungie. How much would you buy it for? Let's say Sony didn't own it. They bought it for $3.6 billion. How much would you pay today for that asset?
1.5 to 2.
Okay, so cut it in half.
Yeah. I mean, like, because the valuation is not just based on past success, but like what IPs they have in the bucket. And I think their critical mistake was making Marathon, because instead of making Marathon, they could have made exactly what everyone wanted them to make, which was Destiny 3. And that would have made them very successful. Destiny 2 had a very dedicated community, like a massively dedicated community. And the Chinese knew that. That's why the Chinese asked for the rights to make a mobile game. But the problem is the mobile game's not working, is because like mobile games are great for like puzzle, right? You go look at Data AI or any of these other sites or Sensor Tower. You're not getting. So I agree with Koji on that side. You're not getting. All these AAA companies think they're going to go to mobile and win, but they're going to get crushed because they're trying to make games based on the DNA that they're used to, which is high quality, like movie, cinema, entertainment. And a phone will not support that. Now, the VR or AR headsets, when they start becoming normal, I think that's when you can do that, because you could have like the phone be the battery pack, and then you've got the Apple Vision, whatever the hells they are eventually. Then that's when you can have Destiny Mobile really work in like a meaningful way. I'm not bearish on Sony. It's more like Bungie just generally, because anytime a developer is trying to make things as an artist rather than being as someone who answers to customers, usually ends up going to zero, because their ego is worth more to them than the dollars that the company put in. I can't get behind that. But people will buy more Sony consoles because GTA 6 is going to be Sony exclusive for at least the first 6 months, most likely, because they don't have a PC build ready, no matter how much budget, because it's just hard to do. So yeah, I would buy it for maybe 1.5 to 2, and then I would loan it off to the Chinese to go make Destiny 3.
Interesting take there. Let's go to Jerry, then to Dub.
Yeah, I what I'm actually probably selling here is just like Sony's strategy. I mean, I feel like it was a couple years ago we were all talking about how Sony felt like, you know, the better buy, like, you know, they were doing a better job than Microsoft and Xbox seemed to be doing. And, you know, fast forward a couple years, and doesn't it seem just Sony is so directionless right now and doesn't really have much of a strategy on what to do and how to grow the PlayStation, you know, player base and get more people on PlayStation Network. And, you know, now you got to connect every 30 days to the internet to just go play your games. And, you know, it's just, if they feel like they don't know what they want to do and want to be doing at a time where Xbox, like Nintendo's good, right? We don't have to worry about Nintendo. They're always, you know, on top of their shit. And it seems like, if you like ask the public zeitgeist, Xbox is kind of figuring it out. And that puts Sony in a little bit of a bad position. You know,
making a nice logo and a nice intro cinematic is not figuring it out, in my opinion. They've got a lot more work to do.
Yeah, no, they do. But I feel like they're on, you know, at least a path where Sony feels like they are just, you know, taking shots in the dark. So, which is overall kind of what I'm, you know, net bearish on. Yeah, Bungie, do I think they recoup this cost anytime soon? No, I don't, right? They have 2 games in the 10,000 player base. It's a very loyal 10,000 people, but, you know, is that enough to sustain a game and get $3.6 billion back? You know, I'd go ahead and say no on that.
Look, the point I was making earlier, it was that like we're at a low right now. I think gaming in general is at an all-time low, right? And if this was housing, right? You wouldn't be like, well, I'm not going to buy a house now because they're worth less than they were 5 years ago. It's like, okay, well, maybe I'll get in now so that the next time it bounces back, I'm going to make some money here. And so like, that's why it's a buy for me. It's like, I don't think this is a Sony problem or an Xbox problem. I think this is a AAA gaming studio problem, period. People just don't have the appetite for it right now, but it's going to come back. It always does.
Yeah, I think the problem with that is, you know, if we talked about like the GameCube being at like $1,000, right? And why would you buy a PlayStation when you can just buy something that's fully integrated with every other part of your gaming life, which is on Steam? So I think that overall is also just this kind of guillotine hanging over the head of Sony right now.
I mean, that's my thing too, is like if you have a choice between, I guess you have to see the specs and see what the games are, but you know, if you have a choice, let's say they're all the same price between the GameCube, a PS6, and an Xbox, like, you know, GameCube you can play on your PC, you can play on your Steam Deck, you can play on your TV. With GameCube, why wouldn't you buy the GameCube versus the PlayStation, the Xbox, where you're really just playing on like the TV? You know,
I think our biases are showing there though, right? Because like, what ultimately we know that we are gaming nerds who like live on our Steam libraries and buy stuff whenever it goes on sale and don't play it and whatever. And yes, there are a bunch of those people, but there are way more people who just buy a console, plug it in their TV, and be like, oh, okay, I'm gonna download a game or put a disc in and play and not think about it. And that's what they want, right? Giving them too much choice. It's like going to a restaurant that has like 5 pages on their menu and you're like, I don't know what the fuck to get. Whereas like most of these people are like, okay, give me 4 things and I'll pick one. And that's what console gaming is. And that's what a lot of people want. You know, the reason why we're here is because we're gaming nerds. So I think that it's our bias to be like, well, why wouldn't you just get the Steam Cube or whatever?
Yeah. And on top of it, my biggest point is Sony doesn't feel like Sony gaming doesn't live and die by console success. You know, for me, I'm stoked to see that they are acquiring like talent with Bungie. And I think that's the bigger thing that leads me to saying that this was a smart buy, because regardless of how this market goes, it seems like everyone misstepped this year, but we're one pandemic away from all of a sudden consoles being a crazy thing again. So, you know, we don't know what the next 5 years looks like, and at least having a stacked team that can be more flexible, that they're figuring. I'm glad they're down and bad. They know they suck at XYZ right now, and they know they can be better at that. So hopefully they take that learning, and, you know, it feels like the right DJ play.
No, we saw what happens when Sony takes a stacked team who is willing to be flexible. They were called Blue Point, and they were incredible at what they did. And Sony asked them to do something different, and they did that. And then Sony said, fuck you guys, and they sent them out. The problem here is that Sony's reactionary. They don't have a plan. Their plan is, let's buy and spend our way out of our directionlessness. I agree with Jerry in that point. But again, listen, to say that, you know, Xbox is caught up, the bar for doing better than Xbox is the 6 of us, 7 of us on this panel right now. If we just did fucking nothing at all, that's a tangible improvement on what Xbox has done over the course of the last 2 years.
I mean, I'm looking at their release schedule right now, right, for 26 and 27. And 27 is very foggy because they haven't announced a lot of the games, and maybe they'll release a new console, and that'll have a bunch of exciting announcements with it. But if you just look at the rest of this year, like, it's kind of, you know, Wolverine, you know, Phantom Blade, they have a console exclusive on. Marvel Tokudon, the fighting game, which will be niche because it's a fighting game. Neo 3, and
maybe they'll make a movie out of it.
I mean, that's kind of the rest of the year, and then so basically they're betting on GTA, I think, right? But they don't have exclusive.
But what strategy is that? Bet on GTA?
Yeah. We're all betting on GTA.
There's no other strategy to take. There's nothing that is the game of the year. No matter, like, it will set the tone for the rest of the industry, whether it's good or bad. Like, there is no strategy. Like, why would you go buy another IP or release an IP around the same time as GTA 6 unless you want to get fired, because you're not going to make any money? Like, all the money's going to go to GTA 6.
Oh,
We've been saying
here's
that
another
for 2
fact for you.
years in the games
If you look at
industry, though.
if you look at Resident Evil
And
Requiem,
it's true.
Mhm.
So here's
Sorry, go
another
on.
fact for you guys. If you look at Resident Evil Requiem, according to Alina Analytics, however accurate they are, I don't know. Steam had 53% of the player base. PS5 had 39. And then if you look at Pragmata, Steam had 45%, PS5 had 30%. So yeah, PS5 is doing better than Xbox, but Steam is dominating. So this is the thing: is Steam just becoming the platform for core gaming? That's my thesis. Other than exclusives, other than console exclusives, and even the exclusive shit they put on PC, and if not at launch, like eventually, which means you can get it on the GameCube.
Yeah, and I think
but we all. But hold on, because we all said that GameCube was shit. Like, not we all,
Not me.
but everyone
I
else
like
here
the
was like,
GameCube.
I like
don't
it too.
buy that stuff. Fucking a few weeks ago. So like, what are we talking about here?
Well, let's
go ahead,
move
Sam.
on to the next topic, because I think this actually ties in. Topic number 2 is about the $200 billion games industry, and if it's finally contracting, because we've quoted this metric ad nauseum. It's something that we all like to say, but we have mobile IDFA changes. I'll just say I've heard some people say that user acquisition is up like 40% for them. At Remix, we've seen it go up in the past few months as well. Console and PC studio closures are obviously everywhere. Hardware materials are at an all-time high. That stands obviously for PC and for console, but it affects console a little bit more aggressively because consoles are cheaper. And so whenever people are not unbuzzing, you're right, Koji, if people could do that so we can figure out who's going in what order. And the industry's own trade group is starting to argue over what gaming really is. People are like, well, maybe gaming, maybe we do count casino, right? Maybe prediction markets are gaming, just so that we could say that the number is going up, guys. And that leaves me to say, what is your sentiment score on how healthy the games industry is? Do you think that this could be a literal contraction where we go from a $200 billion industry to a, I don't know, 185 or something over the next year or two, whenever every forecast that we saw over the past 5 years showed exponential growth? And I think we were supposed to be like a $400 billion industry by like 2030. Doesn't look like we're on that pace yet, except for maybe if we get a hantavirus bump, according to Dub. Let's go around the horn. Jerry, you first. Sentiment scores 1 to 10, 1 being it's absolute dog shit, it's toxic, like leave before it collapses on you. 10 being we're totally fine, we're still going to see a bunch of that growth that we were promised.
3.
7.
6.
6.
5.
I'm just going to agree with Chris on most things. So 6.
Wow, very original. Koji, I'm going back to you because I saw you use the buzzer.
I mean, like any other industry in, ever, basically, like it's not immune to contraction. And I think that like it can't be up only forever. Obviously, we saw a staggering amount of growth in COVID and coming out of COVID, and people like to project things are just going to be up forever. But when things go down, when like the economy itself is a bit rocky and people are feeling pinched, like obviously some things like entertainment and distractions and whatever are going to take a hit. And I think gaming falls in that category. Like, I don't know necessarily that the way that people game will change. I suspect that like we're still going to have gamers in big numbers, but like, Chris said it earlier, mobile gaming is on the rise. And there's probably a reason for that. It's because things like console gaming and PC gaming are becoming too expensive and people can't keep up with the time. So I think that like, the dollar value may shift downwards just because decreased spending and all the rest of that stuff. But I think that, it's gaming after all. People will need a distraction from how terrible the rest of the world is. But yeah, that's why I'm a 5. I'm in the middle. Like things are going to shit. People still want to play games, but they're probably going to have less money.
Jerry, I think you said you were a 3. Anxious to hear why you chose that number.
Yeah, I think we're just at a unique and I want this answer to be a 10, right? Like I would love to sit here and say like I'm a confident 10, but I'm just looking at the state of the industry, and I think what you'll find and what you've seen over the last few years is there's a lot of consolidation of like that $200 billion number, right? Kind of funneling towards a handful of people rather than, and these guys will argue with me that there's an opportunity for indie to kind of take that market share, and I do believe that is an opportunity. But I think gaming grows with like new platform growth, and what do we have, right? I think the last few attempts at those things haven't really worked out, right? The metaverse didn't work out, VR didn't work out. Anybody who tells me AR is working, like there's nothing I hate more than trying to play an AR game. The only thing that was ever kind of cool with AR was that Mario Kart thing that they had, and so I just don't see new platforms coming through, and then I see this opportunity where you can start to like maybe forward or pay forward, cost cuts to things, which would be AI, and nobody in the games industry can figure it the fuck out. Everybody's still arguing about it, and I think AI has this great opportunity in the games industry to make bigger games faster to build and cheaper to build, and then hopefully you can forward some of the cost cuts that you're able to do with that onto gamers. Nobody's going to do that though. GTA is going to ship for $100. New consoles are going to come out at over $1,000, and I think it's just you're starting to price people out, which is a good opportunity for mobile. But like, do we? I'm not here to shit on any other like underdeveloped countries or anything, but like, is games growth in Africa going to be this multiplier, this exponential effect on mobile? I don't see it, right? So I'm pretty low unless we can get something new and innovative, and the last few things haven't really worked out the way the games industry thought they would.
We've also seen more and more reports about the additional time that gets freed up for people as nations become wealthier, economies grow, is actually more than anything going to video platforms. It's going to TikTok and Instagram and YouTube Shorts and stuff like that. Chris, a resident Zoomer, you gave us a 6. What do you make of this?
Look, I think short term it's brutal. I don't think that I was just checking some data here on the global games industry. It's projected to grow like 3.5%, something like that. But that's just going to keep up with inflation, right? Yeah. I don't think you're going to see a lot of top line growth. I think the much more interesting story is there's a lot changing under the hood. Like, Roblox has continued to explode. Now they're going to come up against some rough comps from Grow a Garden and Steal a Brain Rot through the end of the year. And maybe their growth rate isn't as explosive as it was last year. But I think overall, they're very well positioned to continue to grow just demographically and everything else. And technologically, they're doing some interesting things, the way they deliver games. I mean, they're the closest thing to instant games that you can get. And if you look at Roblox reality, they're going to start having things that look like very credible, AA to AAA looking games. So I think there's a shift, right? But if you look at I think that new generations of consoles will get announced next year, and that will bring new titles, and those titles will be exciting and people will want to buy them, but there's also going to be expensive hardware that possibly gets in the way. I think that I think GTA 6 never coming out is kind of fucking killing the industry, because nobody wants to invest anything or put anything out until it comes out. And so everything, and I have a feeling that there's a lot of titles that are actually out there that are not getting announced, and they're just being pushed because 100%. Of GTA 6. And my guess is that the AI shortages and tariffs and whatever, but also I think GTA 6 is a reason that they pushed the console releases from this year to next year. So everything's waiting on that. Mobile, I just think it's fucking impossible to break in, and UA is not the solution, and it's a money furnace. And unless you're already big there, the only way to break in really is going to be in ad-driven games. So it's just it's a big market, but no one can break into it. So if you're doing anything new, or you're a small team, or you're not working at a big corporate, it's look, if you're working at somebody big, you don't lose your job, and if you're small, or you're new, or you want to do anything new, it's good. Honestly, the best thing that I've read is this Clarity Act today that I think is going to, create earlier exits for startups, and potentially create some liquidity. But now we're back in a fucking Web3 town that we all know all the pitfalls of. So I think we've got a couple more years of before we see full recovery. Let me put it that way.
Yeah, I just want to add a quick +1 onto what Chris said, real quick, Sam.
Wait, Koji just said shut the fuck up.
Hold
Koji,
on.
I'm gonna let you tell him to shut the fuck up real quick.
Yeah, I just hit the shut the fuck up because he was going way over time, and I'm not taking over moderating job. But no, I think he was making great. I actually think he was making great points. I just thought I'd be funny.
Jerry, okay, for your +1, Jerry, what I want to know is I keep hearing, GTA 6, like now we're saying it's killing the industry. We say it's going to uplift the industry whenever it finally comes out. Is that true? Like it's gonna make the balance sheet look a little bit nicer, but does like Rockstar with 3,000 employees making another $5 billion and like PlayStation selling a few more consoles, does that actually like help the industry really at all, or does it just make gaming look less bad?
I think it does both. Realistically, as I think it is hindering a lot of people, because like Jonah's point isn't wrong, like, and Chris's point isn't wrong. There's probably a lot of people out there who just don't want to release within like 12 months either side of GTA. Maybe 6 to 9 months that you don't want to touch either side of that. So I do think it is slowing people down from launching, but nobody knows when the fuck this thing is going to come out. We've been talking about this for 2 years now, being like, we thought it was going to be 24. Now we thought it was going to be 25. And now I have no fucking clue if it's going to even be 26, right? I would say probably not. And so I think it's doing both. I think it will, when it launches, be this huge uplift to Rockstar. And I think consoles will sell because of it. But I think for the last couple of years, it's been this kind of just dead weight on the industry. The +1 I wanted to make to Chris's point is like, I think Roblox and Epic and platforms have, oh god, okay, who said that? I think the opportunity for growth within those ecosystems lies that they are the platform, right? They control, like, Roblox could in theory relatively soon have a lot of data on who's playing their games, what your customer profiles look like, and help people, flow user acquisition through the platforms themselves. And I think that's an opportunity for like, there's growth opportunity within that. They still have a ways to go to accomplish that, but being Roblox or being UEFN and controlling, the ad platform aspect of things, it is opportunity for growth for those companies and for people who develop within them.
Knock, I'm tagging you in, brother.
You fucking bitch. Dude.
Listen, when I was fresh out of school, I took a job at KPMG that paid me it was like $42K a year. At the end of the year, I got a 12% bonus or 12K bonus, and that bonus was taxed at a tax rate as if my paycheck every 2 years was $12,000. So I said, why the fuck did half of my bonus disappear? That's exactly what's happening with these idiots that are forecasting the growth of the gaming industry. They saw a 24% jump over the year between 19 and 20 with COVID and said, surely every year after that will be at around the same 20% growth year over year. It's fucking stupidity. The gaming industry on average grew between 4 and 6% in the 10 years leading up to COVID. It grew 24%. Basically every single year since the 24% bump, we've seen a 1 to 2% increase in gaming. On the aggregate of the 6 years since 2020 when we saw that bump, guess what? Gaming is up between 4 and 6% per year since COVID, if you take that bump that you saw in 2019 to 2020. What happened here was people were overly optimistic. They saw a massive bump during COVID and said, surely this is the new norm. But what we're actually seeing in reality is a couple years after COVID, we saw a regression. Now we're seeing things start to normalize. Gaming is projected to grow 4.5 to 6% between 2025 and 2026, right back on track. What has happened here is we saw a bump. People assumed it was the new norm, and people began to panic when 22 and 23 were down years for growth in gaming. I think Jonah's correct. I think what's happening right now is you see a bottleneck around GTA. Once that gets released, one way or another, you're going to see inflows of cash back into gaming because people are afraid to invest now with GTA on the horizon. If GTA does well, that money will come fast. If GTA does poorly, that money will come slowly. But either way, the inflow of cash is going to come back. We're just seeing an outlier year, and people projected that would be the new norm. It was stupidity.
Well, and to add on to that, just real quick, most of the LPs, like, who invest into funds or whatever, don't know, or even retail investors, like, they're not tracking the games industry. They don't know they don't listen to Gamified every day, right? They don't know, all the ins and outs. And so they just look at like industry reports that are like number go up, or, aggregate numbers. So yeah, if you have GTA come out and bring players back to the platform and revenue go up, even though that only benefits mostly one company, it also benefits the console guys, right? They get a boost. So it will pull a lot of people with it. It'll create a third party economy with UGC and stuff, right? And then people will see all the headlines about, oh my God, somebody made money off of a map they made or something, and it'll have people excited about gaming again, even if the rest of the industry isn't benefiting it.
I think, and just to piggyback, the other thing that has happened here is that because of the nature of the growth between 2019 and 2020, where everybody was at home and everybody was looking for ways to connect with other human beings, of course you were going to see a disproportionate amount of that growth be focused into live service titles, right? What's happening now is a combination of a major bump in 2019 to 2020 in one particular vertical of the gaming space, and everybody after that also chasing surely live service games is the move, right? And everybody's going to be home for 24 hours a day for an entire year for the rest of forever, right? I think what's happened here is a gross miscalculation on the projected growth, and what's happened over the last year is a little bit of a reshuffling in where dollars are spent. Live service is not the live service you saw in 2020. It is still a major part of the gaming industry, but as we saw in 2025, so are single player indie titles, many of which were winning awards last year over these AAA titles. You had a massive year of growth mixed with a bunch of misreading of what the market is actually saying, and now you're seeing some reshuffling in what that industry will look like. But gaming is not on the decline. Gaming will still grow 6+% year over year. It's just going to take a little while for us to reacclimate to the realities of the gaming market, which is not everybody's at home all of the time and wants to play live service titles.
Well, and thank you for making an argument for Steam continuing to dominate with the GameCube plus the handheld. But sometimes you have to wonder, like, is the murderer like coming from within the house, right? Whereas I think within the games industry, we're like disappointed at this, not having this like 10% CAGR, year over year or whatever. And realistically, is 6% pretty good? But because we had that kind of COVID, 2 to 3 year uplift from people being home, and then we're not hitting that, we're kind of back to industry norm from the pre-pandemic times. The doomerism comes from within, when it comes to like the games industry growth rate, right? And we are all guilty of participating in that sometimes, but sometimes it's like, man, are things relatively okay? But within, we were spoiled for a couple of years, and yeah.
I want to get Dub and Jonah in here. Dub, I know you played the shut the fuck up card at some point. One of the things that I'm disagreeing with, and I want to hear if you do too, is people are ignoring the fact that also we are missing $12 billion worth of investment that happened in 2021. So even if the money wasn't necessarily going up and to the right from the perspective of the market, at least the investment was. So we had all this influx to do a ton of cool shit, but that also has disappeared at the same time.
Yeah, I agree with that. And what I think everyone was pointing towards, and what my biggest point was, is that the problem of this gaming market is that all of the studios and the actors, the guys building games over the past like 10 years are terrible at business compared to the rest of the markets, compared to sports, compared to grocery, what have you. Like the gaming studios that I've worked with, talked with, it's just like comparing children and college it's just insane how bad the gaming industry is at just basic business operations. But I think why I'm still optimistic in the 6 is because it's getting easier for more independents and smaller groups of people to get into this industry and build and ship games. So there's this weird balance where like all of the mid-tier to B-tier studios are just falling apart on bad business decisions, but there's all of these smaller independent people that are able to now ship games and really change just what's going to go out there. And I think we're at that like inflection point and seeing that happen. And over the next couple of years, we're just going to see a lot more indie self-published games all come out and kind of balance things out as others are failing.
Jonah, remind me what your score was on this one, and then give us your take.
It was about a 6. I think, yes, the GTA 6 stuff, but I also think there's another component, which is like, what does it mean to play a game, right? So with what I do now, I find that a lot of people who post content regularly or even edit content for other people, they see the views as a high score, right? And then they see the money they make from that as like their game, Xbox Live achievement. And I think that there's a whole argument to be made that as AI and this content stuff gets better, the next generation of kids maybe don't fully grow up gaming. Like I'm sure they'll play GTA 6 or some of the tentpole things, but I think there is a possibility that there are a lot less gamers in the way that we grew up with, because people's attention spans are fried, and playing a good game requires a lot of attention. And that attention only manifests when there's a large number of people playing it as a cultural moment. For example, Arc Raiders is the most recent example, where a lot of people who stopped playing games for a while literally came back to stream or play Arc Raiders because it felt like a campfire thing that everyone across the United States played as friends. And most people don't want to play games now that are, not a part of some sort of larger cultural thing. Like if you look at every game that does well, there's usually some community. If it's like Crimson Desert, there's like, I found this thing in the game community. If it's Arc Raiders, look at these trick shots. If it's Fortnite, it's like, oh, there's Kim K's ass is now on Fortnite. Everyone scream and yell about it. Like everyone has a cultural moment that we can all get together on. I don't feel that at all with Marathon. I don't feel that at all with half of the games that Sony releases. They don't feel like they're a part of a culture I exist in. They feel like they're being pushed upon me by someone who doesn't understand me. And that has nothing to do with like liberal or not. I mean, like, I don't care if the game's liberal, but I think anyone could tell you that the Marathon color scheme is literally nauseating. I bought the game and refunded it after 5 minutes because I actually got dizzy looking at the game.
Fair enough. Let's move on from this one, but appreciate the debate. Fingers crossed, I know from all of us that gaming rebounds over the next couple of years, but definitely not in the best of times right now. With that being said, Double Fine, a studio that was acquired by Microsoft in 2022, is unionizing. And I'm curious if you guys think that there's any chance that this works out well for them. The game mode here is what are the odds? So 1 to 100%, or I guess 0% also on the table here. It's a 42-person part-time and full-time employee studio that started in early 2000s. They were a little bit late to a wave. In 2022, Microsoft and the CWA entered into a labor neutrality agreement during the Activision Blizzard acquisition. That agreement expired in October 2025 and is not renewed. Double Fine is going to have to go through the formal NLRB process instead of the streamlined path that earlier Microsoft Studios used. Since 2022, a wave of Microsoft subsidiaries unionized: Raven Software, Activision QA, Bethesda Game Studios, World of Warcraft devs, Blizzard QA in Albany and Austin, Overwatch devs, etc. What I can't imagine, though, at a time that literally, like we mentioned in an earlier topic, Blue Point Studios, one of the greatest remake studios of all time, is getting shut down. How does this potentially work out well to say we're going to make it even tougher for you guys to employ us? Chris Heatherly, I see you spamming the thumbs down. I guess let's go around the horn real quick. What are the odds? I'll start with you, Chris.
0.
I'm going to say 65%.
I don't know enough about unionizing.
35% because Claude taught me about unionizing.
50.
Wow. As somebody who has actually been a part of a union, 5%. More 0 than 5, but I need to hold out a little bit of hope.
Let's go to Chris, and then I want to hear Koji's counter for why he picked 65.
First of all,
He's Canadian.
First of all, Microsoft never should have bought Double Fine. Double Fine is a niche developer of indie titles. Nothing they're doing. I mean, love Tim Schafer. God love him. Lots of respect.
Psychonauts was their big game, for what it's worth.
Yeah, Psychonauts was their big game, but like nothing that they do is ever going to be big enough to be meaningful to Microsoft. First of all, right? And I think they bought it to put it in Game Pass or whatever, but it's not driving a lot of Game Pass either. Second of all, like unionizing Western studios that are in San Francisco with high cost structures, unionizing is like, I mean, I would rather get a fucking kick in the nuts every day than put a nickel into anything like that. Like, it sounds fucking terrible. You know, and they're just unionizing so that they don't get because they know they're going to get shut down.
Yeah.
And they're just unionizing to try to prevent that / give them some leverage / maximize their payout check. That's what I think is happening. But it's a terrible fucking idea. And all these studios that wanted to unionize, when Blizzard unionized QA, I said, they're going to fucking lay off the QA team within 1 year. And I got shit on by a bunch of people, a bunch of progressives and Blizzard people who were like, no, this is the future. We have to protect. I was like, do you know what people in fucking like Thailand and, you know, India are willing to work for in order to do QA? Do you know what AI, like how much it costs to do AI QA? They were like, no, it's going to work out. Did it work out? Nope, they got laid off. So I hate to be a jerk about it, but it's just like, we have to get fucking real here. Like, we're competing against a lot of people in the world who want to make games and they're willing to work hard and they're not fucking union labor. And the capital is not going to invest in the union studios. Sorry.
Yeah, globalization, a good point here. Koji, I want to hear why 65%, and I'm talking to Jerry.
Yeah, 65% because I want to be on the positive side here. I think that like the arguments that Chris are making, they're valid arguments, but the problem is like it's a race to the bottom. Like, there will always be somewhere that will do it shittier, cheaper, whatever. And yeah, you can save money doing that, but like ultimately, like, what sort of world do we want to live in? You know, as somebody who runs a studio who predominantly employs people from the Western world, it's not about like, I mean, it's definitely about their ability, but it doesn't just come down to cost. Like, I'm trying to represent something here, not because I just want to like stretch my dollar to the maximum amount. If that was true, why don't we all just make our money, fucking put it in the bank and then move to Costa Rica or something, right? Like, there has to be some standards here. And just like for some stats, right? Like, the average union worker in the United States earns, I think roughly like $500 more weekly than non-unionized workers. And like, especially in places like the US, healthcare is better, retirement plans are better. You know, there's better like grievance systems, et cetera, et cetera. And I've been in workplaces that have unionized, and yes, it can go wrong, but like, I think that like, what are we trying to do here? Are we just trying to like make the cheapest possible video games, or are we actually trying to employ people and give them a better life? Right? Like, I understand that those things are maybe at odds, but like, ultimately, we're talking about real people here. We're not just talking about shitting out a game and then like people putting money in my hand. Well, we shouldn't be, because if that's what we're doing, like, fuck, let the AI take over the world, and just like, we might as well just.
I'm waiting for my UBI checks. Jerry, give Koji a swift kick in the nuts here. Why 5%?
Unionizing just doesn't work in the games industry. I don't think to work in the games industry is to hate yourself a little bit and to like love what you do and be committed to the game and do it for the love of the game, right? I you know, maybe I'm a little old school. You know, I think a few of us have been around long enough to understand. Like, I've been through crunch periods and everything, and like, I think, do I love it? Sometimes when I'm in it, you know, when you're like, I won't lie and say some of my best times in the games industry weren't like because of, you know, crunch. Does it suck? Yeah, it does suck. But man, you know, Double Fine, like, these guys make games that exist to go into Game Pass as like filler, right? I mean, you know, it's like getting that random you know, tabletop game. You know, they're not making, you know, genre defining hits or anything like that, right? So I think they're coming from a position of relatively little leverage or small amounts of leverage, and then, you know, trying to unionize. And it's like, for what? You know, you guys just guaranteed the shutdown of your studio. And you know, if that's worth it to stand on principle, I guess, you know, but for unionizing to be able to like protect for labor and give you better, you know, more equitable access to resources and better healthcare and consistent pay and all these things, and have a better work-life balance. Well, you're gonna have none of that because you're not gonna have a job. So, what is the cost of it? And I think, I just don't think unions are really gonna work in the games industry. They haven't up to this point, and I don't think they will in the future.
Another thing I left out of that opening read is that they were acquired for $13 million in 2019, which is approximately 1/17 of what they lost just on Concord. So I can't imagine Microsoft goes like, oh, we can't afford to shut them down.
Guys, we're espousing the modern American dream here. It's hopeless, so don't try.
I just think there's probably a better way to go about it. I mean, I lived in Los Angeles for a while. Me and Chris have bonded over this in the past. A lot of my friends have had businesses go out of business because they tried to do things related to filming in Los Angeles, but unions make it so impossible to hire like a lean staff where you can film something on a budget because you need like 3 boom operators and 7 light people and all these things that just make it prohibitively expensive. And so you have people that are trying to do artistic things and they end up not being able to do it successfully. On the other hand, you have a bunch of people that really want to work in the film industry, but they can't get into the union. So they also aren't allowed to get the experience required to eventually enter the union. There's all sorts of other problems that affect what is the American dream, which is I'm willing to work hard. I'm willing to show up. I'm passionate about this thing, but like, there's more problems to it than that meets the eye. Knock, I'm tagging you in. Why 50-50?
Well, the correct American dream is protection for me, but not for thee. And I think that's what Koji's kind of getting at here. It's funny how management has a whole bunch of protections baked into the shitty decisions that they make, but the people who are building the games don't. I think, look, realistically, the reason why I gave it 50-50 is because I can understand the rationale. A studio like Double Fine or Bluepoint, as a great example here, their moat is not the technology that they've developed. It's not the engines that they're building on. Their moat is their people. Their moat is their expertise. So taking precautions to try and protect their moat makes good business sense from my perspective. Now, the problem is that moat doesn't insulate you from Microsoft choosing to shut down the studio entirely or properly fund the studio or a whole other variety of reasons as to why just unionizing alone doesn't help. The reason why I give it 50-50 is because when you look at the games industry, Microsoft has actually been more union neutral than basically every other studio or gaming organization on the planet. They have a number of studios within their umbrella who are unionized, unions that Microsoft themselves have recognized. WoW has 500 developers underneath their umbrella that are unionized workers. That union was recognized by Microsoft in 2024. And WoW has done really well over the last 2 years since that unionization has come into play. So the argument that a union makes games unprofitable is fucking stupid as well. I think what we're seeing here is a read is right, math is wrong for a studio like Double Fine, right? Their moat is their people. Their moat is their expertise. We can argue about how big that moat is, but that is what their moat is. Now, whether or not the union will actually change anything, I think the argument is no, it does not. And they're probably still going to get shut down. And I agree with Jerry and Chris on what the outcome is here. But I think somebody like a Bluepoint probably should have made an effort so that they didn't get fucking bossed around and shut down in the way that they did. At the end of the day, in order for a union to work, you need to, 1, be unionized, and 2, you need to be working with a party that is going to respect that. And Microsoft so far has been a mixed bag, which is an improvement on the rest of the industry, which has been straight up no.
We got a mic drop and to shut the fuck up. Jerry, why are you telling Knock to shut the fuck up on this one?
I don't like these Canadian guys coming in here and talking to us about the American dream, first of all. And I think I should have played that on Koji because I disagreed with Koji more, but Knock was Canadian collateral damage there. But I think to Knock's point, all the games he brought up, Diablo, WoW, right? Like Microsoft being relatively neutral, it was on the backs of people not being unionized, that made those games a success in the first place. That kind of has allowed that to be a possibility now.
Yeah, I mean, America was built on the backs of people without human rights, so we should probably take those away too.
Back to the argument of protections for me and not for thee. We'll protect what Jerry is suggesting to be a really stupid fucking acquisition in a studio that hasn't yet made it for $13 million, a decision made by management within Microsoft, but we won't protect the people who work for the studio that has been made. I think it's telling to see what we're saying here is literally just a personification of, if you're in management, you've got all the protections in the world, you can make every fucking stupid decision ever, and we're gonna Bobby Kotick you on the way out and give you a $50 million pay package for fucking everything that we've done in Activision Blizzard over the course of the last decade. But God forbid you work at Activision Blizzard and want some sort of protection, you can go fuck yourself.
I think it's okay to want protection. I think it's disappointing that people don't understand that it's not going to work out for them. Like, I'm in Chris's camp of thinking it's probably pretty fucking close to 0% that this works out. And so I'm just sad that these people that are looking for protection of their jobs are instead going to get laid off. And then they're going to be like, what the fuck, man? And the answer is probably somewhere more subtle.
Unionization is going to work out is irrelevant. I think like the metric for whether or not it's going to work out is, does Microsoft acknowledge the union? The answer to that question is almost certainly going to be yes. But if we're saying that it's a foregone conclusion that Double Fine is going to be closed, it doesn't fucking matter whether or not they're unionized or not. When they close, Microsoft is going to shut them down. The win here is whether or not Microsoft decides to acknowledge the union, which, given their history, the answer there is almost certainly going to be yes. I think that's the win. That is the working out. If the studio's fucking dead anyway, it doesn't matter what you dress it up in. But the point is, can unionization, meaning getting Microsoft to acknowledge it, work? I think that answer is more of a coin toss than we're giving credit to.
Yeah. Can somebody in the YouTube comments that Knock loves so much do the exclamation mark remind me in 365 days so that Chris and I can gloat about this?
I don't want to gloat about it. I don't want to gloat about it. I do not want Double Fine to be shut down. I think it's a great studio, and I would love to see him stay around. I just think that, look, I mean, I just think if you're gonna, how are you gonna protect anyone against a creator economy on Roblox? How are you going to protect anyone against globalization, right? I mean, I want to respond to a point Koji kind of made earlier, or clarify something, and I know he would agree with this, which is, the problem with the Asian developers and the globalized development is not that it's about cost and like, oh, they're cheaper, we're better. It's that a lot of these Asian developers are fucking better too. And they're cheaper, right? And they don't have unions. So it's, and they're using AI, and they don't complain and cry about UI, so it's like, it's like all of it, right? They're better at free to play games than we are by a country fucking mile. And then you look at what's going on console, and they're starting to get very, very good. Right. And so I think that Western developers just need to have a wake up call and just realize that it's a competitive market. You have to be willing to work your balls off. And you know what? I like hard work. Is it wrong that I'm an American and a Texan and I like hard work and I want to, and I believe in all that Horatio Alger shit, and I want to, I'm an entrepreneurial guy. I'm tired of all this fucking crying all the time about, I have to work. If you don't like your job, go fucking quit and do something you want to do. I love games. I want to make games. My son is in games. I tell him, work fucking hard. He doesn't act like some nepo baby. He works his balls off. So I don't want to hear it from other people who don't want to work.
Make crunch great again.
I grew up in the same world. I tell everybody all the time that, like, when I was in the trenches or whatever, and my boss was like, hey, this needs to be done by Friday. It wasn't like, yeah, I'll do it in like the 40 hours that I worked this week or whatever. It was like, no, it's just going to be done by Friday. And we've kind of lost that. And I agree with you there. But I think that the argument is like, well, if a group of people have collective bargaining, then they're like, we've lost. We're not going to work hard. That just means like, no, actually, what it means is I'm going to make less money.
Dude. But like, yeah, that's the era that you're describing.
That's okay.
The era that you're describing, a single household income could be $40,000. You had 2 cars, you took 2 vacations, you could buy a fucking Sea-Doo and feed your whole family. And today it's get it done by Friday and make sure that maybe today you can have a cup of ramen because you haven't had any fucking money over the course of the last 2 weeks. That's the difference here.
Come on.
Yes, I agree.
Come on, bro. None of these guys are starving. And they're all making 6-figure salaries at that studio. I think maybe the lowest salary is $80K.
Yeah, and I think like there's an argument to be made, Chris, to your point, where Yeah, some of these guys are doing it for themselves to pad their own pockets. But if you believe in like unionization in an industry or in a particular field, somebody has to take the lead. Now, whether or not Double Fine is misguided in the sense that they believe that they have some sort of leverage here, I agree with you. I don't think they have any fucking leverage at all. I think it's a stupid thing for them to be doing at this point in time.
That's the real question, Knox. So we agree.
But
the capitalist is back.
To be fair, the question was, do we think that this has a chance of succeeding? And I still do believe that there's a 50-50 chance that Microsoft actually acknowledges this union. Whether or not they fire them is
anything if they fucking yeet them into the sun, brother. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. Because Sam, it's like, and to your point, right? How many people just the film industry? Dude, this is shout out Spencer Pratt. This is a major talking point in his campaign, right? About how Hollywood is dead because how do you make it work, right? And to your point, like, how can you make a living when the industry is dying around you? And I think that's the bigger talking point here.
That was a fun one, guys. Best of luck to Double Fine. Again, just to be hyper clear, none of us are rooting for their downfall or anything, but maybe a little bit skeptical about the approach here. But fingers crossed it works out. Good luck to them and to Microsoft. We move on to what I've been looking forward to this entire episode. Rate the flick. If you've seen Mortal Kombat 2, give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down if you haven't seen it. That doesn't mean that you liked it or disliked it, just that you've seen it or not. Me and Dub, I know Dub, Chris has seen it. Koji hasn't. Jonah and Knock, have you seen it? Neither of you. Okay, well, Chris, I know that you enjoyed this movie. In fact, you told me in a DM that you loved it, which gave me personal hope that it wouldn't be dog shit. But this movie had to be a one.
His review was so bad that he fucking crashed.
Dude, he's been waiting all day.
The internet fucking spit him out.
He's been waiting all day for this.
My power went out, so now I'm on my laptop. Sorry that it looks much lower quality as my door also slammed shut and there's ghosts in my house. With that said, it's time for my favorite part of today's show, which is me saying that Mortal Kombat was one of the worst fucking movies I've ever seen in my life. Chris Heatherly sent me a text saying he loved it. Chris, how could you love this terrible fucking movie?
I don't know what you want. It's not Shakespeare, man. It's like it's a Mortal Kombat movie. It has Mortal Kombat in it. It has a tournament. It has awesome finishers. It's got lots of Easter eggs. It's got Johnny Cage. You know, like what did that's what I wanted. What did you want?
Johnny Cage was a caricature to the degree that it wasn't funny or interesting anymore. It was crazy. It was like 65 minutes of him just being a literal character from the 80s where he didn't even like move his face or try to have interesting dialogue. It was like an NPC the entire time. And that was the protagonist that we were supposed to be rooting for. It was insane to me, dude. It was insane to me. The dialogue for the entire movie was written for 6-year-olds. It was literally like the level of
which is great for me.
It was crazy. It was insane to me. The amount that they also plot and the holes in the plot were so ridiculous that I lost count. Literally in the first 15 minutes, I was like, I don't think I can hold all these things in my brain because there's so much that I hate about this that I'm going to start forgetting things. And I woke up this morning and I wrote a list of a dozen different things that I hated about the movie from memory. The next day.
You're so bad. You're so bad that I gave you a good review and you went and you fucking hated it.
Go ahead.
Dude, honestly, it was such a great experience for me because of how much you were like just cowering in fear and anger the entire movie. It was hilarious. And for me, the biggest thing is like that was such an easy Ray-Ban sponsorship layup for them. The amount of times they brought the sunglasses out for Johnny, like, how are they not teeing that up? It's just insane to me as well.
That's the only thing
that's his issue with the movie.
Was fucking product placement. It's the only thing
they should have been meta glasses. They should have been first person.
It's fucking terrible. I wish and I hope that for Mortal Kombat 3, it's the first movie fully created by ChatGPT, because ChatGPT, you could use model fucking 4.2 and it would have made a script that was 1,000 times better than the dog shit that we watched. The lighting and the set design was so atrocious. It looked like I was sitting on the fucking set of a Power Rangers episode in 1993. I'm so fucking confused how a group of adults can make this.
and somehow it gets through the approval process. It's an atrocity. It is the thing that gives me the least confidence in mankind out of all the things that I could be upset about. This is the thing that makes me
the direct quote coming out of the movie was literally like, how I didn't think they could get away with making movies this bad still. Like how does this get across the lines that it got across is beyond
for listeners, this has ruined his entire day. He's been pissy all day.
It ruined
because I told him this movie was good. I just went and enjoyed it I hope Street Fighter is better. I'll admit to that. They swerved you with Johnny Cage. I agree. He could have been a better look. I could pick nits. He could have been a better character. They told you he was the protagonist. And at the end, and then at the end, who is it? Cammy? Who is it that no, that's the fucking Street Fighter. Who is it that defeats Kung Lao?
Katana.
We can't say it. No spoilers.
Right. Okay, I fucked up.
Well, the movie is so bad that you could spoil. I mean, nobody's gonna fucking want to watch it after this review, I'm sure.
A couple things here. I want to first take my Jerry moment and be like, I fucking called it, because when we were doing the episode before,
permission granted.
Street Fighter is going to be better. There's no question. And everyone laughed at me and pointed. Right now, I say fuck you, because Street Fighter definitely will be better. Having not seen this movie at all. But the second thing I'll say is like,
the trailer looks great.
Maybe again, to like go back to my previous point, maybe this just isn't for us, right? Like, I grew up in a world where there was a sweet spot where there was, movies made for like 12 to like 18-year-olds who like were not quite ready to see like full on like bloody disgusting nonsense, but it's just like let's give them some fun action to like have a good time at the theater with. And maybe this is that. Maybe this is like this generation's Gleaming the Cube, or I'm trying to think of a more contemporary example, but I'm old.
Yeah, nobody knows what that means anymore.
Gleaming the Cube.
Here's the thing. When we had that discussion...
Oh my God, Google it. Hold on. Google Gleaming the Cube immediately. Tony Hawk is in this movie.
You were right, Coach.
Is in this movie.
Street Fighter will be a better movie, but one of the arguments we all made was because it was PG-13, so therefore it has a wider total addressable market. I think that is such a cop-out, because this movie, despite being rated R because of a few gory moments, was not for adults. It was like it took the rated R and then didn't apply it to anything else except for they said the word cunt one time. Like, the dialogue was literally for 6-year-olds. It was insane. The amount of times that they repeat plot points and they say literally the identical thing that you just watched, and then they go to another character who just repeats that same information like 4 or 5 or 6 times in a row. It was like they completely forgot that like most of the people.
Okay, you're right. It sucked, but you're thinking about it. If you were just a retard,
it was made for a streaming service.
But
yeah, it was made for a streaming service. So like they repeat it 100 times so you can watch it with your phone in your hand.
But here's the thing though that I really want to harp on is people say like, oh well, it can't be a big franchise because it's rated R. But Deadpool, the first Deadpool, made $700 million by treating viewers like adults. It had like gross, dorky, silly, over-the-top comedy, but also the dialogue is like super fast-paced and super interesting, and they have all sorts of different inside jokes. And that franchise made like $3 billion over the course of a few movies, and then it came out with a standalone movie that made 1.3 by itself as a rated R title. And so that isn't a defense. You can't have it both ways. It should have been a fucking PG movie and make unicorns come out of their head whenever they decapitate people, because it would have been significantly better.
Okay, you're right. It was bad, but I wanted to like it. How about that?
That's more acceptable.
You should have told him that before. He was so excited, dude.
I was so excited.
I was so excited.
Yeah, but if he told him that, we wouldn't have gotten that rant.
Yeah. But all right, here's the thing with Mortal Kombat, right? You remember we talked about Mass Effect, and Jonah was just worried about Miranda being hot, and then you guys were all like, yeah, just make it for everybody. And I was like, no, don't do that. Mortal Kombat is like a gruesome IP, right? Like people's heads are falling off. It invented the fatality, right? And so why is this PG-13? It should have been rated R. It should be gory as fuck. There should be crazy. Then lean into being rated R, right?
Exactly.
Then lean into being rated R. And can we think of a more mismanaged IP. The best thing to come from Mortal Kombat, which should be for all of us, it was all our generation, was a machinima YouTube series. Just done by fans, right? How has this not been like picked up by HBO and somebody? Just everything that comes from Mortal Kombat is dog shit, and it's such a cool IP that we all still have all this nostalgia about, and this is what they do with it. It's a crime. It's a crime.
It is. It is a fucking crime. I mean, you could literally print out a transcript of the movie and just see the sheer amount of times they repeat the same fucking words. It's insane to me. It's got to be a dozen times. Like, I felt like I was taking fucking crazy pills. I felt like I'd slipped into the upside down and I must be watching a fake movie that somebody put up there as a fucking prank. It was literally a 1.5 out of 10. We move on.
Guys, just watch Bloodsport, you know? Just a better version of this.
The last thing I'll say on that note, Koji, or Naka too, because you haven't seen it, watch the first one. Watch the 2021 one is on Amazon Prime. I put it on literally as a joke, being like, it's so great that I'm about to watch a better version. I want to remember how bad the previous one was. And I walked out of that theater being like, the first one was 3 or 4 times better. Like, the special effects are better, the acting is better, the storyline is better, every part of it is better, and it was made by the same fucking people. How do you regress 5 years later? It's fucking crazy to me. The whole thing is absurd. I digress. Topic number 6, last one. Let's sneak one in. Unlimited resources for Grand Theft Auto 6. Is there a number that is too much? Okay, this ties in a lot to our earlier topics. Rumors have it that there's maybe a $1.5 billion budget being put on Grand Theft Auto 6 as it stands right now. GTA 5 sold 200 million plus copies, clearly making that number quite small if you consider each copy is $60, $70, $80 maybe for a deluxe version, plus all the money that they've made with Grand Theft Auto Online. Take-Two CEO Strauss Zelnick in a Bloomberg interview said, "We try to give them unlimited financial, creative, human resources, and they aim to deliver perfection." My question for you guys is there a number at which you would look at this and go, fuck, they're Icarus. They're flying too close to the sun. There's going to be too much in this game. They're going to get too distracted is the thing that I hear very often. I'm seeing the buzzer. Unfortunately, everything's reset. So it says guest now. Jerry, is that you?
Yep. Yeah, that's me.
Okay, let's set the number at over under $2 billion. Would it be ridiculous at that point if they said $2 billion was the budget for Grand Theft Auto? Would we be worried at that point?
No, I don't. I think this is it's probably the only IP. It's probably the only game we have where you would actually go and say spend what you need to, because they will recoup it. Right? It is such a hyped game. Everybody's been waiting for it. We talked a lot about it in this episode. There's no way that they don't make their money back over the life cycle of the game and then some. Right? GTA 5 is probably up in the $9 to $10 billion range at this point. So if you go to 2, right, and make 10 back, you're 5xing your investment. I think this is probably the only game where you can go and approach a studio and say, or approach your developers and say, spend whatever you need to because we're good, right? It'll be either the biggest game of all time or it'll be the biggest failure of all time if it's not, up to par. But I think you go tell these guys, hey, this needs to be perfect because of how much people have been how long people have been waiting, how much they've hyped it up, the amount of delays. It has to be perfect. And so I think they've kind of backed themselves into that where, if you're the CEO, you have to go and say like, fuck it, whatever it takes, just make sure it's perfect. So, and I think this is, the only IP in gaming that you will probably ever see, that happen with. I don't think it'll happen again.
And realistically, you have to assume this is going to be like a 10-year live ops title minimum. I mean, this might be a situation where this is the last Grand Theft Auto they ever release, and it's just updates and updates and updates and more squeezing of the stone. Chris, going to you.
I think 2 billion is about the limit that I would say is sane. I think you might be able to make an argument to go up to 3 billion. I mean, I just pulled the data. It looks like GTA 5 plus GTA Online have done 10 billion. So you think, okay, probably, they have to spend on marketing, what they spent on development, and maybe a little less. I mean, 2 billion is a lot of marketing to spend, frankly. So, maybe you can market it for $1 billion, but they're going to have to spend a lot of money to market it. I think nonetheless, like, you know, yeah, there's almost no amount unless they shit the bed, right? Unless the game is just bad and people hate it. But assuming they deliver and it does like previous GTAs, I mean, I don't think there really is a conceivable number that they could spend that's too much.
Chris, you think they're going to go up that high on marketing spend? I don't think they have to spend much at all, dude. I mean, this is already the game everybody's waiting for. It's already done so much marketing, and it's
maybe not. With the maybe they spend a couple $100 million. I mean, they're going to spend. Yeah. Look, I mean, they're going to if you for a movie, right? If you're marketing a AAA or like a big blockbuster movie,
like Mortal Kombat.
You spend about as much on marketing as you spend on production, right? So if you make $1 billion movie, you spend $1 billion in marketing. I think that you know, GTA could get close to $1 billion. I don't know how it gets over $1 billion though in marketing. Like at that level of spend, it gets harder to buy more impressions. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah. I would say they're probably only going to spend. I mean, if I'm Rockstar, I'm spending a couple $100 million at most, right? I think this game has done so much marketing for itself already. So yeah, I wouldn't. It's going to be game of the year. It's going to win all the awards, right? It's going to, you know, live service is going to fucking crush. I wouldn't be spending a lot of money if I'm them.
They're at that point too where every single time they release anything, it is global news. And so just like clipping economies work off of, oh, well, if I use iShowSpeed, I can get a lot of views for my channel, whatever. It's the same thing for Grand Theft Auto. So as soon as they put anything out, basically everybody that's trying to content farm just reposts whatever it is that they put out. And so they get this massive tidal wave of awareness every time they do anything. That might mostly be in the gaming community, though. And we've talked ad nauseum about the fact that this game is going to be something that maybe goes beyond just the core gaming audience. And so maybe that's where a lot of the marketing spend on NBA games or whatever might come from. Koji, you wanted to tap in on this.
Yeah, I mean, I think that everyone's made good points so far, but we talked about it before. Like people are clearing out for this game. I suspect if you spent $2 billion on making this game, that you would make a good chunk of that back on pre-orders alone. I think there's no question that like we saw it with fucking Cyberpunk, right? And this is going to be that times 10. And they're also timing themselves perfectly because people are going to buy this game, upgrade their consoles, probably buy it again. It's going to have life in perpetuity. Like this is the type of game. It's like Skyrim, right? People are going to buy it probably several times over on several consoles and do all this stuff. And to Chris's point about marketing, I think that's what he's saying about the marketing costs being roughly equal to the production cost is true up to a certain point, right? Like you look at a movie like Avatar, again, obviously everything to me comes back to movies, but like I think the production budget of that movie was like $300 million and the marketing was only $150 million. Like there's a point where you spend enough money that it's just going to be in everyone's face no matter what. You don't need to go higher than that. So I think that like it'll be probably significantly less on marketing, but even still, like whatever they spend, it would be foolish. It's going to sell consoles, and Sony knows this, other people know it, so it's just going to be in everyone's face all the time, everywhere, and there's not going to be a lot competing with it. So, I think $2 billion is like a spit in the bucket.
Over to you, bud. You're muted again, brother.
Oh, we should be good now. Yeah. It doesn't matter how good this game is. This title is going to sell out immediately. Like I think $2 billion is a drop in the bucket. Let's go through a little bit of an exercise. The absolute most bear case for GTA 6. Take Red Dead Redemption 2, cut it in half, and make every single one of those units sold $60, and they're still going to make more than $2 billion on the sale of that game. So I don't think that there's a world in which they lose money. I think the absolute worst case scenario is a profit of a couple $100 million, which is a great day for basically any other studio on the planet. If they are half as big as GTA 5 and you still price it at that $60 price, you're going to make $3.5, $4 billion, $5 billion. It doesn't matter. I think this is a game that is so large at this point in time that they could literally just release a video of Koji farting in the wind, as he likes to say. When you open up that game, that's all that you get, and they're still going to sell 2 billion copies within the first 30 days worth of launch. I think that this game is way too large to fail. I think realistically, they're probably going to do somewhere north of 20 to 25 million copies just in the year that it releases alone. I think the lifetime sale, I mean, given if it releases in 2026, it's probably coming in Q4. So in that 90-day window, they're probably doing 25 million sales. You look over the course of lifetime in this game, that number probably looks a lot closer to 200 to 300 million copies if it's to match GTA 5. This game is going to make a ridiculous amount of money. So the answer is it over 2 billion? Yeah, and it's probably over 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, maybe even 9 or 10. I think that this game has a 10 to 12 billion dollar floor. So I don't think it matters what they spend.
Oh, I thought Jerry was going to chime in there. You fucking pump faked me. Let's go over to Jonah. Jonah, what do you think? If I said that they're going to spend $3 billion making this game, would you go like, I mean, they're just at the point of diminishing returns. The game is going to be bloated. It's not going to be performant. Like, is there too much, or is it just like purely, no, okay, sick. It's going to be so good that, I don't know. Doesn't matter.
If I'm Take-Two, I'm doing a blank check. Their entire company relies on the success of this game. The NBA 2K or any of these others, it won't matter. This is they're all in. If you're in the casino, they put everything on the table. This is either a game that's so powerful that Take-Two becomes the next Disney, or they'll be out of business in a few years.
There it is. Dub, what do you think, man?
I mean, that's the smart take from my point of view. I think we're gonna get disappointed anytime there's something like this that's like, are these guys gonna disappoint us? Like, it always ends up being like, yeah, they disappointed you. Like the time and time again, it just feels like it's always been that. I mean, it happened to Star Wars. We can go on and on, right? So like, same with Harry Potter. Like, I'm just disappointed. And I think this is just a giant walking simulator, the 6th version of it.
Wow.
So, I'll never disappoint you, Dub.
Yeah.
Oh, Chris, brother. Again is how you should finish that statement, because
it hurts.
Yeah.
Dub, give us your MVP on that note.
Fucking snark Chris. It's Knock for sure. Knock just comes in and says everything eloquently, and he ended up voting on our side, even though he said he was on the side against us. So, I love it when he just realizes that we're right the entire time.
Chris, who you got for MVP?
I have you, Sam, because your rant, you wrecked me on Mortal Kombat, and I'm sorry for that movie.
Gracious in defeat. I appreciate that, Chris. Forgiveness is somewhere on the other side of 2027 for me, but we'll circle back. Knock, over to you, buddy. Who's your MVP?
Yeah, I'm giving it to Jonah. One, it was good to get him back on board, and I think very short and to the point, but it's hard to disagree with anything he said today. So it's Jonah for me easily.
Jonah, who you got, bud?
I feel bad for not giving it to Knock, but I thought Koji, because the reason why is I feel like Koji has become the new Jonah. I became domesticated versus Koji still has the fire to fuck with people, and I like that. I like that energy.
Koji, who you got, bud?
I'm giving it to Jerry, man. I like Jerry's energy. I like that he was contrary, but not to the point of making me angry like he usually does. So I'm giving it to Jerry.
Playing the shut the fuck up there was well timed. Jerry, who you got?
I'm gonna go Chris. I didn't expect myself having to be a Tony this week, and being on Chris's side, because I usually disagree with the both of them. But we were the only ones fighting for the land of the free and the home of the brave this week.
Wait,
I give mine to Jerry, since Sam doesn't count.
Oh, also, yeah, dude. Like, Chris, I don't know if you have like a referral set up with the Mortal Kombat guys, but yeah, dude. I mean, well played on hyping Sam up. Yeah, I don't know why you sent me a referral link to tickets earlier, but I'll go. I have to go watch it now. You sold the movie well, dude. I have to go watch it now.
I'm so jealous of the experience you're gonna have, which is getting to hate watch it. I was just disappointed in real time, which is a much more painful experience. Jerry,
I don't know what
MVP.
the fuck to believe. I don't know what the fuck to believe right now. It's like the first take that Koji had, where he called all of us old and then he called us all young in the same take, and I was like, I don't know how to feel right now. 60. Yeah, 60 seconds. I don't know. I really like doing the show with you guys. This is a lot of fun. I don't really have anything to plug, but go watch Mortal Kombat.
Oh no, dude. What have I done? This is terrible. A little bit of a chaotic episode. Sorry that my power went out and the production quality of the show went down dramatically after that point. Glad it happened toward the end of the episode.
Aren't you based in Utah?
I am.
Okay, so did you see the data center news? Is that what's happening? Are they taking all of your power for the new data center?
No, dude, he's just in the most podunk part of Utah. Bro. Electricity's fine over here.
Dude. Practically downtown. There's like 50-mile-an-hour winds outside, so something tipped over. And
well, all I heard said is that I heard Oracle and a few other guys, Kevin O'Leary, one of them, they're building a 40-acre data center right on your land.
Mm-hmm.
They are.
North side of the Salt Lake. They hate it.
Away from me. I'm basically downtown. Doesn't matter.
Yeah. It's on the other side of the mountain.
Yeah, on the other side of the mountain, which might be Arkansas to me, dude.
Yeah, we don't go north.
We don't go north. Yeah, shout out to Mr. Wonderful. Am I right, boys? No notes there.
He's a great guy, wonderful person.
All right, boys, that's gonna do it for episode 160. Big hugs to all of you for making the time. We'll see you soon.